from the AP. Why Trump's and Harris's proposals to end federal taxes on tips would be difficult to enact. And that was the point. It is now a Trump-Harris policy, not unique to either of them, because Kamala Harris stole Trump's policy, and this is what she's going to do. She's basically just going, you know why she has no policies on her website? Because she has no policies. When she goes to campaign events, she says whatever she needs to say to those people at the time. So she's going to go to a group of veterans and she's going to be like, we want to get proper funding to these companies that are sustaining your livelihoods down here in your district where you make weapons. Then she's going to go to some peacenik, Bronx area and say, we're going to end the war and we're going to cut the spending. If she puts a position on her website that says we want to help fund companies that are helping the military industrial complex, then she's going to split the vote. How about this? No campaign policies, and just say whatever you need to say in person. She's going to pick, when she does roll out her policies, it's going to be generic surface level Democrat stuff that they think is safe. Now, this taxes on tip thing is really funny. You know why? Because from fairtax.org, VP Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to let the IRS track workers' tips so they can be taxed. Kamala Harris literally voted for, and it was the tie-breaking vote. That is to say, as VP, she is in the Senate casting the tie-breaking vote. And when half the Senate said, do not tax tips, and the other half, the Democrats, were like, tax their tips, Kamala said, I'm going to tax their tips. Comes out 2 years later and goes, we shouldn't be taxing tips. Unfortunately, many of these liberal pundits are lying and manipulating the average person who doesn't pay attention. I'm hoping that the amount of sheeple, as it were, is a small percentage, and the average person just doesn't know. And when you correctly inform the average person that Kamala Harris is the reason the IRS is targeting workers' tips, maybe then they'll say, I think she's lying to me right now. Because I'll tell you this right now, she's the current VP. She could go to Joe Biden right now and say, let's pressure some legislation from the Republican Congress to eliminate taxation of tips, and then we can sign it. And then Biden can say, thank you to Kamala for leading the charge. Why aren't they doing that right now? If Kamala Harris came out and said, I call on the Republican Congress to bring a bill forward that Joe Biden can sign, that I will cast my vote for in the Senate, ending the taxation of tips. And if the Republicans want to block it, it proves they were never for it in the first place. Then it goes to Biden's desk and he signs it and issues a press statement saying Kamala Harris led the charge on this one. She is the reason you should support her. She won't do it. You know why? Because she's the reason they're taxing your tips in the first place. And she doesn't actually want to cut your taxes.
Right.
I could be totally wrong here, but wasn't there that proposal? There was a proposal in Congress that was led by Republicans that includes language about like removing income tax on tips. And now the media is sort of being like, oh, it's bipartisan. It's who even knows?
Do you know which political party wants to draft women?
The Democrats.
It's the Democrats.
Because equality.
I think even on the California level, she was effective in cracking down on taxing tips as well. Not even when she was when she was VP, but
when she was in the Senate.
I forgot. Yeah, it probably was. If I had to guess, it was probably when she was in the Senate. But yeah, there's actually a double whammy here. Republicans need to be grabbing this and using this for advertisements and hammering down on that, assuming it's effective with the right people in swing states, which I think it would be. I think it would be very effective.
How many days until Kamala announces that she's going to build a border wall? Do you think?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for her to paint herself orange.
Her newest original idea.
I've come out with something.
She's going to say, we're going to bring back manufacturing jobs.
She'll call it something else, not a wall.
No. Right.
We're going to build a fence.
I mean, it's perfect content for like South Park or Family Guy or anyone like that. But unfortunately for us, this is real life. And she's running off just stealing Trump's policies and not doing interviews and gaslighting the American people.
And abortion. I mean, that's her other main talking.
We got to wipe out those babies.
I feel like it's really unfortunate that for a lot of women in this country, that is the main voting issue. And they don't even pay attention to it.
You really think it is, though?
I think a lot of women in videos I've seen, like Taylor Hanson's video that he just posted the other day, I think you guys talked about, where they were talking about, I'm a trans man and I want to have abortions. Yeah. I've heard a lot of women say that. And what's interesting to me is Trump is actually not that conservative on abortion.
There are tons of pro-life people who are...
Kamala keeps saying he wants to ban abortion nationwide. She just keeps saying it over and over again. And she got a community note on X where there's like 7 links where they're like, Trump has literally stated over and over again, he will not sign a national abortion ban.
Misinformation's okay when Kamala does it,
Well, no, I mean, Elon commented it saying, when will they learn you can't lie on this platform anymore?
Right, I saw that. Definitely disinformation for sure. But that's the entire campaign. That's just what they're doing. I mean, the other day they brought up, they bring this up every like 3 weeks, but good people on both sides. I mean, they're still running with that. How many times has that been debunked?
The crazy thing is I've actually talked to people who close in my life who's up until last week did not know that was fake.
For sure.
Yeah. I was like, Trump never said that, right? What, you mean when he called the Nazis very fine people? Yeah, he literally said they should be condemned totally. It's in the transcript. Watch the video. And they were like, oh.
Years ago, I showed a guy the actual video. I showed him the actual video, and he still dug his heels in.
I sort of feel like this is
and
the
didn't
abortion
learn.
issue for women. Like, I think there are probably a portion of women who really care about the issue and really want to have, access to abortion. I think there are definitely a lot of women who feel very strongly that abortion is murder and it shouldn't be on the table. But actually, I think this is all sort of tricking women into talking about this thing when they should all be asking questions about the economy, right? We have made it so women have to be in the workforce. So they're all paying taxes. They're all paying for rent. They're all having to pay for these things. They have made it so this is the issue that is their main concern, when I actually think that is misleading women who, in this case, are proving to be very gullible. They have just as much reason to prioritize the economy and immigration and crime as men. Why do Democrats tell them over and over again, this is the major issue for women?
For sure.
I think that women are easier to manipulate, and they're easier to target with the cult-like thinking. And
they're more agreeable.
More easily to make out to feel like a victim. And that's an issue that it doesn't impact your everyday. The economy absolutely does. And once you debunk that these lies that Harris is spreading, that Trump is going to outright ban abortion, which isn't true. I actually wish he was more conservative on abortion. But
definitely.
I understand what he's saying about he wants to get votes, and it's really sad to me that we live in a society right now where we can't even really have a real pro-life candidate. I think that's really sad.
We'll get there.
Well,
I hope
victories.
We do. I
Incremental
agree.
victories.
I think it's a stepping stone there, but for that to be the main focus for women on the left it's really tragic to me, because it's not even what they think is happening.
Well, I'll give a shout out to Aaron McIntyre's tweet when he said, "Lord, give me the Trump that exists in the delusion of the modern liberal."
Sure.
And I'm just like, yeah, and not literally, yes. Like, I don't want to live in whatever crackpot Handmaid's Tale they think they're going to live in, but it's literally like, give us a stronger Trump. Give us a Trump who's gonna actually be a bit more aggressive when it comes to mass rioting. Because what did we get in 2020? He said, I'm going to talk to the governors and you guys can figure it out. And then he said, Tim Walz, you did a good job. And Donald Trump should have invoked the Insurrection Act to shut that down overnight. I mean, we're talking about like the worst riots we've seen in 50 years. Or I mean, look, I don't know what to tell you. If Trump wanted to play dirty, because I make this point all the time, he could have just told the law enforcement in D.C. to stand down and let the far left rampage through the White House. And then there would be no January 6th. There would be a May 29th. Instead, Donald Trump said, send the cops out, arrest these people, and then shut it down. But in every other jurisdiction, nothing. You can't have it both ways. So if Trump's going to be strong in D.C. with Bill Barr and then weak for the rest of the country, it didn't work out for him. It didn't.
I'm not sure if it would have worked out either way, because then, if you're taking over, right, he was letting governors handle it. They weren't handling it because they wanted it
worse.
They wanted it to get worse so they could blame Donald Trump. They could say, look, you guys, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And there's like every city's just like up in flames, They wanted to do that, but they also would have ran with the fact that Trump bypassed the governors and sent in his stormtroopers and all that. They would have still been talking about that today if Donald Trump did it. I think that was a lose-lose for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough.
Politically speaking, sorry.
Yeah,
But-
whether he gives them power or uses his power, they can frame it to make him the bad guy.
Right.
But if that's the case, then do the right thing.
Yeah.
Don't stand back as the country burns. That's why I'm saying you can't have it both ways. Either be strong or be weak. Stand back and say 10th Amendment, but then in D.C., he comes out strong. Federal law enforcement goes in, starts shoving people around. And a lot of people mention that with like Metro PD, these are these are Mayor. It was Bowser, I think, at the time. Was it?
Yeah.
And but Trump had, I think he had like Federal Protective Services. He had federal law enforcement out there as well. And Bill Barr, I believe, was the one who said, let's clear out the protesters. And then the media attacked him for it. Mm-hmm. He was forced into the bunker. So it's not easy. It's not. But ultimately, it's like Trump could do the right thing. If I guess the argument there is Trump didn't want to invoke the Insurrection Act to deal with crime that the states weren't dealing with, which is literally the Insurrection Act is for. Trump can call upon the National Guard of a state if local law enforcement is not upholding the law, which means when the riots broke out and for days nobody's doing anything. Kenosha, look at Kenosha, look at Kyle Rittenhouse. Trump could have sent in the National Guard and shut it all down instantly. That National Guard would have shut down these riots instantly, and Trump didn't do it. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.